Over the next half hour, we're going to dive into everything Duke football and get you ready for the 2026 season. After winning their first outright ACC title since 1962, what does head coach Manny Diaz and his Duke Blue Devils have in store for an encore? We break down the familiar faces and the key new faces that the Blue Devils are adding to their roster. And how does their schedule look on paper? So much to get into. ACC's Duke football preview show starts now. Welcome to our ACC Network studios. From the flats of Georgia Tech, we have Ronnie Jones. From the Death Valley, I said it, Eric McLean. I'm Jason Spells, and we are breaking down the reigning ACC champion. Duke Blue Devils looking to do something this conference hasn't seen since 2020. That's a repeat. Let's recap the offseason that was for the Blue Devils. The second team all-conference running back Nate Shepard is back after rushing for over 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns last season. He dropped $170 in the Sun Bowl win over Arizona State, so he's still in the fold. But Darian Mensah is now in Miami. And so the Duke Blue Devils had to pivot after losing their quarterback, bringing in San Jose State transfer Walker Egan. Egan tallied over 3,000 yards for San Jose State. Duke rewarded head coach Manny Diaz with a contract extension, keeping him in Durham through the 2031 season. He's won 18 games over his first 2 years with the Blue Devils. Duke opens their season September 5th as they host Tulane. The Green Wave reached the college football playoff a season ago. So a lot has gone on in the Bull City. For you, Emac, what's your big storyline for Duke?
Well, I'm just going to see how are they this year. You know, how do they handle that pressure? How do they handle some of the haters and just the doubters, quite frankly, of what the expectation is going to be? Because this list of departures, key departures, whether that's to the NFL draft, graduation, or guys that moved on, it's a long list, man, and that's a lot of star power. Certainly there's a nice, plethora of the team and some star players that are still there, but just how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with all preseason people still telling you you're not good enough and you can't do this? Because they did that last year, and look what Duke was able to do.
Emac, you buried the lead on the biggest storyline. It's what is this offense going to look like with everybody gone? You thought you were going to have Darian Mensah back. He's gone. Basically, all the receivers are gone. You got Nate Shepard back, which is fantastic. But the offense is going to look completely different. And the guy who we thought we could count on, who Duke thought they could count on, the signal caller, Darian Mensah, decided to go to Miami late in the process, which is how they ended up with Walker Egan. They're going to obviously build this offense around the outstanding young running back, Nate Shepard. But outside of him, my biggest storyline is, what is this offense going to be?
Well, it's so interesting. You bring up their top two receivers, both gone to in-conference foes. Darian Mensah also taking Cooper Barkate with him to South Florida. So we outlined some of the players who have gone. Let's take a look at some of the key returners who will still stick around for Manny Diaz. Nate Shepard, you mentioned his performance. Jeremiah Halsey, how about his performance? 454 yards, 6 touchdowns. Luke Murgott, Deshaun Stone, all ACC tight end. Jeremiah Halsey returning for his 5th year there. Before we get to that, Roddy, Luke Murgott, that's a player you're interested in seeing how he performs this last year.
Yeah, look, this is a Duke defense that on the back end has a lot coming back. But when you talk about the first 2 levels, Luke Murgott is really the guy that's going to be the obviously the leader. He was one of the biggest surprises, maybe one of the biggest guys who emerged over the course of last season with 90 tackles, those 2 interceptions, the interception at the end of the ACC championship game to seal it. He was phenomenal for him a year ago, and with so much new around him, I think Luke Murgott's going to have a big year for this Duke defense.
No, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And just looking at what Manny Diaz wants to do, right? He wants to be aggressive. He's going to send blitzes, wants to have a plethora of coverages just to disguise you, and that's going to be important. But for me, it's all about Nate Shepard. I mean, this guy is a bad boy. He is an absolute weapon on the ground. 1,100 yards. You mentioned the bowl performance. What a great kind of, boost into the offseason for him to have that and to capitalize on that. And listen, this guy was snubbed. He was left off of, All-American lists, freshman All-American lists, and he knows that. He posts about it, on Instagram and on Twitter. So I think he is going to have an outstanding chip on his shoulder. And again, we keep bringing up this elephant in the room that QB left. I'm sure they were boys, and that guy left them. So he's going to have that kind of, extra motivation to even take it a step further. Because as you joke about what is this offense going to be, it better be a lot of handing it left, handing it right to this talented running back.
Especially when you're bringing in a new quarterback. We all know a quarterback's best friend is a run game that they can rely on. So you need to rely on Nate if you want to help drive this offense, especially.
Right. And what's going to be interesting is defenses know that too. And so how do they overcompensate? How does he, attack a deep box, a heavy box? And how does he get outside? How do they protect him with that? It'll be interesting. It's a new challenge for him.
It certainly will be. I think when you look at what Jonathan Brewer does offensively, though, you can go back to his time with Rhett Lashley. Their offenses have succeeded in multiple ways. If they've been run first, they've been pass first. And we'll see what Walker Eaget brings. Obviously, he didn't participate for a lot of the spring, so we're not exactly sure what it's going to look like with him. But this has always been an offense that wants to get downhill, wants to run the football a decent amount to set up the pass game down the field, especially when they go with tempo. So while we don't quite know what it's going to look like, they had success with Malik Murphy. They obviously had a lot of success with Darian Mensah. I think they'll have success with Walker Eaget, and a lot of that is because of Nate Shepherd.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of Nate Shepherd's numbers, and we'll go inside the numbers there. Shepherd became the first Duke freshman to rush for over 800 yards. He also broke the Duke freshman record for rushing touchdowns, which was previously 8. His 1,100 yards rushing ranked second amongst FBS freshmen last season, trailing only North Texas's Caleb Hawkins. Roddy and Eric are over at the touchscreen to break down what makes Nate so special.
Thank you, Jay. All right, we talked about how explosive this guy is, but there's a lot of parts of his game that I think are going to translate and take another step. Roddy, you found 3 plays that you really like that exemplify who Nate Shepherd is as a running back.
Look, everyone sees the long athletic plays, and everyone thinks, oh, that's all there is to being a running back. But there's a lot of little things that Nate Shepherd does really well. So let's talk about patience in the backfield. He does a phenomenal job consistently of just feeling things out. There's nothing here. I mean, you've got a defender that's blocked right there. You got defenders plugging up the hole there as well. So what does Nate Shepherd do? He just feels it out, feels it out. You get a Virginia defender spinning around. He's able to find a little bit of space and explode through, makes the guy miss at the second level, and is able to get in the end zone. You're going to see that a lot.
That's as a true freshman.
Exactly.
I mean, this is a guy that, man, he is feeling it. He understands it. He wants to go in a hurry.
He does, but I think his short area quickness is probably his best attribute, the ability to make guys miss in the hole. You can't always block everything perfectly, and you're going to get a run through by a North Carolina linebacker on this play. So Nate Shepherd's got to do something. Look, we can only block so many. Sometimes you got to make the offensive line right. So in the backfield, he's able to make the linebacker miss, gets back to a hole on the backside, and then watch the power. I mean, this is a true freshman breaking a tackle from a defensive end, a linebacker, a safety, carries a corner down the field. So much determination, and that goes a long way to the offensive line and everybody on that offense feeling good about what's going on.
Well, and I think what that play showed again is just the patience, because what did he do? He allowed that to happen. Obviously, being athletic, making a guy miss, but then going backside. I mean, that's vision and patience to go with that explosive.
And those first 2 run schemes are a little bit different than this one. This one's a counter where you've got 2 blockers. You got a blocker going from there to there, not that way, he's going the other way, and a blocker going from there to there. So what you've got is 2 pullers coming around, and as a running back, sometimes you have to help these guys set up these blocks. So the first block from the guard, that gets spilled by the defensive end. That defensive end is not going to let him push him outside, so he's going to make the tight end go around. So what Nate Shepherd has to do is expand this hole. He's got to take a step this way to help the linebacker come that way so that the tight end can get that block and then get back underneath, which he does extremely, extremely well on this one. Cuts up, and then it's just pure speed. You make a guy miss at the second level, the third level, and he's able to take it to the house. I think the biggest things, patience we saw, his ability to make guys miss in the hole, that short area quickness, and then the strength down the field and the speed. And this is a complete back. It was just a true freshman last year as well. Bigger, faster, stronger this year, so I'm excited to see what he's going to bring.
I mentioned it early, but I want to hear it for you, because obviously you did it for 4 years at Georgia Tech. Teams know about him now.
Yep.
It's not a secret. How challenging will that be? Heavier boxes, more identification from a defense.
It is going to be challenging. Duke's going to have to do some things to loosen those boxes up, whether it's getting Walker Egan on the move, or getting guys the ball on the perimeter and having them make big plays. But Nate Shepherd's going to have to show that patience, not necessarily running the ball, but when he gets stopped for -1, -1, 3, -3, because that's going to happen some with heavier boxes. You can't hit a home run on every play. You got to take what the defense gives you, because his talent will create plays pretty consistently if he's able to get to the second level.
He's one of the best in the ACC. We're excited to get him another year. Jay, back over to you.
All right, from the key returners like Nate Shepherd to the new faces joining the Blue Devil program, Duke hit the Group of 5 and FCS ranks to find talent, specifically to fill offensive gaps. We got quarterback Walker Egan. He was ranked 3rd in the Mountain West in passing last season. For wideouts, I got Javen Nicholas from American Conference and Jared Richardson from the Ivy Leagues. On defense, Patrick Smith-Young joins the Blue Devils after 73 tackles at North Texas, guys. So who are some of the new faces? Once again, in this portal era, you rebuild teams on the fly. Who are some of the new faces where you want to see what they can bring and what they can add to this Duke team?
I'm going to go Jared Richardson first and foremost. And a lot of it's because he comes over from Penn, and the last time Duke picked a receiver out of the Ivy League, it was Cooper Barkate, and he was awesome last year. Jared Richardson, a bigger-bodied receiver, 80 receptions, over 1,000 yards last year for Penn. He's 6'2", 220 pounds. So that physicality is something Duke hasn't had in a while at the receiver position. So, Mac, I'm really excited to see how he's used in this offense.
Well, it should translate, right? I mean, numbers at the end of the day, size, speed, it's hard to teach that, and when you got it, you got it. I'm interested just in this quarterback, position and what is, he going to be able to do? What is Walker going to come in, because he didn't have the spring, so he was just learning. He was just listening, diving in and doing his thing there. How much and how quickly can he adjust? And again, when you add these talented wide receivers, you have a great tight end coming back, plus that run game. It should be plug and play. It should be something that works very well. And at the end of the day, I think we give Duke the benefit of the doubt because we've seen him do it with a multitude of quarterbacks and had great success. So I think that they have deserved that. I think Duke has earned that, and so has Manny Diaz. So if he can just be average, I think you're in a good spot.
And it's been two different kinds of quarterback. Darian Mintza, very different quarterback than Malik Murphy. Darian Mintza, very accurate underneath and intermediate. Malik Murphy was a little more erratic there and certainly a statue in the pocket. Walker Egan brings sort of, you get two kinds of things. He's not going to run as much as Mintza was. He's not going to be as mobile, but he is more accurate than a Malik Murphy was. He was 11th in the country in pass yards last year. So the ability to throw the ball is certainly there. The question is, how quickly does he pick it up?
Right.
You bring up an interesting point with Murphy and with Mintza. Those were two different style of play quarterbacks that were able to be, as you say, EMAC, plug and play. Now you have Egan coming in. Those are big shoes to fill because Manny has shown in 2 years what he can do in a short amount of time with his quarterbacks. How quickly will Egan have to get up to speed, but also have to fill the shoes of what we've become accustomed to?
Well, the good thing is he did have the spring to learn. Now, it would be a lot better if he's getting on the same page and he's going with these guys and doing that from a timing and throwing perspective. But just being in the building, seeing the culture, listening and learning the offense, that's a big deal. And it's a huge point, for these guys. So I think it is. But at the same time, Jay, it's almost because of how the situation happened. I think the team is going to rally and really galvanize around Walker to make that situation better.
It's a really good point by you because the way that the Darian Mintza saga went down, once you get that guy in the building, you have to put your arms around him and say, hey, look, you're our guy. You're the guy that we're going to roll with into this season coming off of obviously an ACC championship with room to grow. I mean, this is a team that still lost to 3 Group of 5 teams last year during the regular season, and we're able to get to the ACC championship game. So when you look at, 2 of them, when you look at what Duke is able to do this year, a lot of it will be on Walker Egan. But Jonathan Brewer does a phenomenal job of coaching those guys up. And when a guy with as much experience as he has, I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to be fine.
Manny Diaz was saying they have a couple of redshirt freshmen wide receivers that he's impressed by what they were able to do in spring. So you know what? There could be some depth at the wide receiver position, which will help Walker for sure. Still to come here, we discuss what we've seen from Manny Diaz through 2 seasons in Durham. He's been very successful. What does he have in store for year 3? Look, I know this much. He gonna bring the juice. Just look at what he did at the Carolina Hurricanes playoff game.
Flipping through the pages of Duke sports history, the football program has been built by many Blue Devils, including 2 legendary coaches, Wallace Wade and Steve Spurrier. In reality, Wade was a legend before he arrived in Durham. In 8 seasons as the head coach at Alabama starting in 1923, Wade won 3 national titles before shocking the college football world and leaving for Duke in 1931. Over the next 11 seasons, Duke won 6 Southern Conference titles and made 2 trips to the Rose Bowl, one of which they hosted in January of 1942, just weeks after the attacks on Pearl Harbor. After fighting overseas in Europe in World War II, Wade returned to Duke for 5 more seasons, and his legacy lives on in the stadium that bears his name. Over 3 decades later, another coach made an instant impact at Duke. This time, it was a soon-to-be legend in his first college head coaching job, Steve Spurrier. In just 3 seasons in Durham, the soon-to-be HBC head ball coach turned the Duke program around, going 3-0 against rival UNC and claiming a share of the ACC title in 1989, the first for the Blue Devils since 1962.
A couple of greats, but now Manny Diaz putting his name into the mix.
Put him in there.
Take a look at the Manny Diaz era. Duke has won 9 games in each of Diaz's first 2 seasons. Those 18 wins are the second most wins over a 2-year span in Duke history. In 2 seasons, Duke has gone 6-0 against North Carolina, NC State, Wake Forest. Wow. Duke had defeated all 3 in the same season just twice in 60 years before Diaz. And, of course, Diaz led Duke to his first outright ACC title since 1962 and his second championship in 60 years. On April 16th, he signed that contract extension to keep him in Durham through at least 2031. And Manny, he feels pretty good about the direction of the program.
There's been plenty of chances where Duke has had the opportunity to blink and say, you know what, this is as far as we're going to go. And it's really been the opposite. And the great thing is just, and I was told this when I was interviewing for the job here, is the standard's the standard. I mean, Duke is Duke. And if it's got those 4 letters attached to it, that the standard is excellence. And, we feel proud that we're able to uphold our end of the bargain and to put a football product out there that to me, is worthy of the logo.
So there's now a passion, not just about Duke football, but Duke sports in general. But it started with this football program shocking a lot of people and winning the ACC a season ago. What has impressed you all most about what he has done in a relatively short amount of time, just 24 months?
I think the no-brainer answer, the easy answer is he's a really good freaking football coach. Like, this dude knows ball, man. He lines it up. He's going to hit you in the face on defense. And, Coach Mark Richt would say it for years, even when Manny was the head guy at Miami. He always would ask the questions being ready for this moment. Like, his entire coaching career when he became a coordinator was leading to this. Like, he always wanted to be a head coach, and he's one of the best in the country, not just the ACC. I mean, this guy gets it. He knows people. He knows the vision, and exactly what he just said there, the standard's the standard, and that's what they expect from the strength coaches, who I think is one of the best in the whole world with David Feely, down to the GAs. Like, everyone understands what we are and the level of expectation. And also, I'm long-winded, I'm sorry. I also want to give credit to Nina King for bringing him in and for doing this and supporting it wholeheartedly. You can't do it without alignment. And Duke is as aligned as anybody in the country, athletic department on, and it's impressive.
There's a reason that athletic department is the standard right now in the ACC. Champions in football, men's basketball, women's basketball.
First ever of any conference.
First time to ever do that. And the reason is alignment. Dr. Vincent Price, Nina King, all the way down to the head coaches. The thing about Manny Diaz in particular that's been so impressive, remember, he took over Miami and he made some mistakes early on that he had to quickly correct. He learned a ton during that Miami experience, and obviously the way that he was let go probably led to a lot of motivation, but he instituted all of his learnings at Duke, a place that is very invested in being good at football, very invested in helping their coaches succeed, And you could tell he was so prepared for this moment because of that Miami experience that there was no choice but to be successful. They have nailed their head coaching hires the last 3 times. David Cutcliffe was a home run back in 2008. Mike Elko was a home run, which obviously led him to going to Texas A&M. Those 2 set the foundation, but what Manny Diaz has done, being able to get them over the hump to win the ACC championship, he has to be commended for what he has done with this program to take them to the next level.
All right, so we saw right there, he had 9 wins in both of his first 2 seasons. Year 1, that 2024 season, good story, shocker. Year 2, 2025, blew everyone away winning the ACC. How do you now grow year 3?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because there is that expectation. And now there's a tangible thing. There's a championship. There's a trophy. There's a ring. And that's what we do, right? Every year. Well, it's hard. It's hard to do. And that's why you said earlier, we haven't had a repeat champion in many, many years now. So what do you look at? And I don't want to pull anything back and say, Duke fans, don't be mad if you don't win the ACC championship. But you do need to have that with a grain of salt and understanding winning is difficult. Winning is very hard. And at the end of the day, I think what the product to me looks like on the field, are they physical? Are they aligned? Are they smart? If I check all those 3 boxes, the results are what they are. That's what I want to see this team continue to be, which is what they've been for 2 years under coach.
I think if you look at this team, there's a lot of reason to be optimistic that there's room for growth. This was a team that played pretty inconsistently last year and left a lot on the table when it comes to wins. I mentioned those 2 losses to Group of 5 teams. You had the Georgia Tech game, you had the Illinois game. Like, those were very winnable games, if not for self-inflicted wounds for this Duke team. This is a team that went 7-5 during the regular season last year. So, yes, they won the ACC championship. I don't want to take that away from them at all. But there's room to grow. They could get, with those improvements, if the roster is similar to what it was last year, you could be a 9-3 football team during the season. And maybe that gets you the ACC championship game, maybe not. But I think that would be improvement if you're able to play consistently on a week-in, week-out basis. Because last year's team, I think the only consistent thing was the inconsistency.
Correct. And that's a great point that you bring up there, because it was so frustrating. I mean, I lost all my hair talking about it. That they would be in such a great position until they weren't.
Yes.
And then it was just like, how did this happen? How did we get to this? And so I think at the end of the day, how can we embrace and develop that mental fortitude that we can go the length of the season and really take another step?
It's interesting you brought up room to grow. Keep in mind, 2024, they were one of the top 3 best defenses in the ACC. And then 2025, they regressed back into 15, 16, 17 mark. Defensively, we talked a lot about offense, rightfully so, but defensively, what do you want to see from this Duke team? Is it just the consistency you had touched on?
I think it is, because, again, that's where we saw the Illinois game is almost perfect. The first game, they are punching them in the mouth. They have 4 sacks. They're forcing turnovers, scoring even. And then the second half, they fall to pieces and can't do anything. So it's just taking that next step, because they're physical. They're going to get after it. They're going to blitz and create chaos. But at the end of the day, Jay, as Roddy said, it's all about that consistency.
I think it's little things and the little techniques, the little mental lapses that you saw last year, jumping off sides in crucial situations, some blown coverages down the field. They have to be better in the secondary. The pass defense really let them down a year ago. But look, Jonathan Packey is one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, certainly in this conference. And Manny Diaz is an excellent defensive mind. I think they'll have that shored up going into next season.
If that defense can get anything back to what we saw in 2024 with the offensive additions, we could be talking about Duke doing something we haven't seen in a number of years. Hey, still to come here on the Duke Football Preview Show. The Blue Devils open the season with 2 challenging non-conference opponents, while the first 2 games are key for the Blue Devils, and a closer look at the rest of their schedule.
They go to a trick play. Taylor threw it back to Morris. It is intercepted by Luke Margot. And Duke has won the ACC.
I mean, these guys, they never give up the things they've been through this year, and now they are ACC champions. They deserve to be here. They're worthy of being here, and now they're champions.
New year, new season. Here is the Duke schedule. Hey, November 14th, any plans?
Yeah. I'm going to be in Miami. I'm going to be in Miami. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
I mean, look, amazing schedule, but that's the game everyone's looking at.
No question. There's going to be drama. There's going to be action. Hopefully they're both really good, so we get all of that. But, yeah, that's circled on everybody's calendar.
I think that entire stretch in November at NC State, at Miami, Clemson, which could be very good, and then at Wake Forest, who I expect to be maybe even improve from last year. That's a tough end of the season. That Miami game, though, is tasty.
Listen, you want to win a championship, that's what you want. You want that November to just really mold you, to challenge you, get you sprinting forward, Jay.
Yeah, you run through that November, you have a good chance of playing in Charlotte. Hey, next time there's a group text about Gray, let me know.
We'll hit you up.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of the college football season.